Hi, I'm Kenneth WAJDA. I'm a professional photographer here in Colorado, and welcome to another one of my photography talks. Today I'll talk about developing gear. So if you shoot 4x5 film, one of the concerns is how do you process it? I processed my first 4x5 photo when I shot it in a speed graphic with a tray, and I just stood in complete darkness, and for 5 minutes every 30 seconds I would flip the negative over in the tray and keep it agitating, but at the same time I had to stand in the dark, and I didn't have a way to develop two unless I had two trays going, and I didn't want to stack them on each other. So I'm not sure it's a great idea to always process more than one at a time, but it may be, and it's maybe something that I'm going to learn how to do or learn what's best. But I picked this up. This is a SP-445, and I'll put a link to the company that makes it. It's a Colorado company, and I think it's a guy, basically, who had an idea and said, I'd like to process 4x5, but I'd like to process without having to make so much chemical up, like to fill up a large tank, and to process a few sheets at a time. So we made a simple little device, and it's got holders in it, and you can put 2 sheets of film on each one of these holders, and you can just process one, which I've done. You can process 2, 3, or 4, whichever works for you. And then this whole system, you fill it up. Once you load this, you can load this in a dark bag or you can load it in a dark room. Once you load it, it's safe, it's light safe. You can then add your chemical here. This is just a vent. And you can add your chemical and you can put your chemicals in. You can develop your 1 to 4 sheets of film in 5 minutes or 6 minutes, whatever the kind of film you're using takes, 10 minutes. But the beauty is it only takes 16 ounces. So when I make up processing chemicals, I use HC110. It's a concentrate. You can buy 16 ounces of it and it'll last a long time because you use literally, I think 15 milliliters, which I have this little tiny spoon. I gotta use 3 of those every time I put it into 16 ounces of water. And that will process 2 rolls of black and white 35 millimeter at one time. In fact, I use it more than once. And then if I have 4 rolls or 6 rolls, I'll just use the same developer for 2 or 3 loads. Same thing with 120. It'll process 1 roll of 120, 16 ounces will, inside of a tank. But this will process 1 to 4 sheets of black and white 4x5 with also 16 ounces. So the beauty is you get to process using a very small quantity. There are people who adapt Patterson tanks and they figure out a way to put black and white 4x5 in there, but those things hold 32 ounces of fluid. And I don't know a simple way to get away without mixing up more chemical, which I feel like will just get wasted. And so to have a tank like that, and it was a Kickstarter campaign, I sent for it and it came in the mail, and I like it. I think it works well, and I'll put a link to their company name because it might be something that could help you too. And to process 4x5 doesn't have to be that expensive. If you're doing it yourself, it's pennies. And I'm certainly doing all my own processing for black and white because it would cost me more money and time to run into Boulder than it would just to do it right here. And it's easy and you have control over it. And if you shoot 2 frames of the same thing and you process the first one and it's a little bit thin, you can overdevelop the next one to get a negative that you want. So you have so much control with 4x5 and a tank like that. And I like the simplicity of 16 ounces and I'm not making up large quantities of chemicals. And I can process film pretty much on the cheap. All right, that's today's photography talk. If you're enjoying these, hit the subscribe button. I welcome your comments too. Thanks so much for watching.